just spins around and around, dreaming about the day she will be free. For you see, she was as human as you and as me. Her story begins a long time ago, back in the days of the Greeks. I was a weaver, a beautiful, talented weaver, and when I wove, by golly, everybody from all over would come to me. And they would say, Arachnes, your weaving has got to be the best I have ever seen. It must have come from Athena. Well, I'll tell you, I did not like that one bit. So you know what I said to them? I said, that old hag does not know how to weave. She does not know anything. Except I said that in my head because that would be very rude. Well, one day I was singing and weaving, when out of the corner of my eye I saw this little old lady. She was about this tall, stormy gray eyes and wrinkles to go with it. And as I wove, she came closer and closer to me until suddenly she put a hand on my shoulder and said, Girl, that has got to be the best weaving I have ever seen. It must have come from Athena. Well, I had been having a terrible day. The servants were late with my breakfast. It was cold. My bath water was cool. My clothes were dirty. And on top of it all, my papa wasn't home. So you know what I said to her? I said this out loud. Arachne, or me, Athena, does not know anything about weaving. The only one who my gift came from was me and my mother. Do not tell me about Athena again, because she's an old hag. But that's a story for another time. Well, she looked at me, and by golly, her eyes got hard. They turned as hard as stone, and I knew I was in for some serious trouble. And she spoke in her low, raspy voice, and grabbed me with her cane and pulled me close and said, Girl, you have made a terrible mistake. I challenge you to a weaving contest, and the Lord of the stars and sky, Zeus, will be my judge. And at this point, she pulled off her skin and revealed her true form as Athena. And then, in her voice, her mighty voice, she shouted, Oh, zuesy-poo, I need you. And he came down and he stood up on his mighty throne and said, What is it this time, Athena? And she was like, Well, it's a long story, but I need you to judge my contest. And he's like, Well, if I have to, because I know you're going to be bugging me about this for another 300 centuries, and I really don't want to listen to you. So he said, and this time he was much more mighty, he goes, Weavers, gods, goddesses, and mortals, we are here today for a contest. They will both have one day's time to weave their best work, and I will be the judge. And so it began. I remember the sound of my womb clacking and clacking, and the sound of Athena's. I remember the villagers bringing light, although they didn't like me, so they didn't bring me any. Well, I don't know, but. And then it dawned, a new day, and it was time for the judging. And I looked down on my work, and I saw a beautiful picture with the gods and goddesses surrounding me. An Olympias, except for one. She was different. She had 2 eyes, 4 noses, and 2 heads. And from the green odor that was surrounded her, I think she smelled bad. Well, I thought it was my best work ever. And then I looked over at Athena's, and it was gorgeous, about this high, and having all the wisdom in the world. Now you then, I might have made a terrible mistake. So I shivered and shivered, and then Zeus spoke. Well, first he paced like a rooster, like. And then he got up on his mighty stone and said, "People!"
Yes!
Yay!
Yes!
Now that's zuesy-poo there. He said, "We are here for a contest between two women, both wise and both strong, but only one can be the winner. The winner is..." He paused for a long time and my heart shook and shook. I thought there was a mini earthquake going on. And I stood there, and he stood there, and then he said, "The winner is Athena for her wisdom." I knew then that I was in serious stereo. And I looked at Athena, and by golly, she looked mad, as if she had wasted her talents on something. And so she got in my face, breathed her foul breath on me, and I was like, and she went, "Girl, you are a beautiful weaver, but you have a fault. That is arrogance. Arrogance so powerful, it can only be your downfall." And she looked at me and said, "So, I will give you what you wanted. You will be a weaver for the rest of your days. You shall be a spider." My world shrank, and suddenly I was in a web, breathing, and I couldn't stop. So I have wove for centuries, and found myself, like any other person would, furious. But my cold calculations have grown, and I know one thing, that someday very soon, I will have my revenge!